Hey everybody, welcome to $100,000 podcast. You know, we had a really good response to the first one, and thank you so much if you watched the first one. I'm excited about this next one. On my right here is Richie Briggs.
Hello.
I'm going to tell you a little bit more about him in a minute. One of the things that a lot of people said is, hey, what 100,000 hours on your first podcast? You didn't even tell me what it was. So I want to tell you what it is of my journey to where I'm at now as a business owner of 41 years, started when I was only 18 years old, and I didn't have anything. I didn't have any money. I didn't have any backing. I didn't have, I didn't have really any knowledge of business at all, but I did have a passion and a burn to help people, to make them better, to find a place in my own mind, and I could elevate them emotionally, metabolically, physiologically, and from that's where this was born. And I owe all my successes, to God and to my father and to the incredible people that surrounded me and gave me a belief in self. And I was very observant the whole time, and my systems are an amalgamation of everything that I've learned. And I'm an autodidact, so I learn. I went to school, but I observed the whole time, and my observations of seeing how people reacted to certain foods, to certain exercises. That's kind of what got us here. It's been a long journey, and I've learned to discern, information that I bring into my mind and disseminate stuff so I can provide great direction for everybody in my organization and all of my customers. But it's a journey that I've loved every step of it, and I'm still on it, and I'm still getting better every day. And at this point in my career and in my life, the most important thing I can do is to find great people to surround myself with. I'm only able to interact with, so many people every day. And I feel like my body of knowledge that I have, I think it's so unique and it's so different that I have a deep responsibility to spread it out and teach other people. So I'm fortunate, and so I'm looking for great people. And I tell you, I did one of the best decisions I ever made in my life was when I met this guy. Richie is he's incredible, and he's not. When I met Richie, he wasn't a great trainer. He wasn't, the most disciplined guy I ever met. But you know what he was? He was a great guy. And he had a great moral compass, and he loved everybody. There was no prejudices. He loved all people of all sizes, shapes, colors, creeds, everything. And I guess that is what really drew me to him initially. And, he's a great dad. He's a great husband. I mean, I'm so proud to say that, he embodies everything that I was ever hoping to achieve when I was making somebody else a part of my vision and my dream. And this guy, Richie, is incredible, and I'm just so blessed. And guess what? All the customers of Todd Smith Fitness are blessed too, because he loves people just like I do. And he has a passion for making a change in people's lives, just like I do. But he's incredible. And as I pass the torch, and I'm not passing it yet, but he has grasped everything that I teach and everything that I believe in, and has embraced it. And he's gotten better, man. He helps me, he teaches me every day. So for that, this is Richie.
Hello.
Richie, tell us a little bit about, we talked earlier about, hey, what are we going to talk about today? And I think you should tell us a little bit about like how we met and the impact I had upon you. Mm-hmm. And then I'll tell a little bit about the impact you had upon me.
So there's one part when we were talking earlier I kind of forgot about. So I'm from Norfolk, Nebraska, and I moved here to Omaha in 2003. And I wanted to get into like hardcore gym. I wanted to like powerlift, bodybuild. So I ended up going to a gym, Big Iron Gym, hole in the wall. And they
had
a
great place, by the way.
He helped them get started. He helped Rick and Becca, lent them, and they had this cardio corner. And then around the corner, I was a magazine junkie, so I knew all these bodybuilders. Then I'm like, who's this guy? And then Bud Turkle, God rest his soul, he was with us until a couple of years ago. He pointed out, oh, that's Todd Smith. He goes, oh, he had that World Gym, and it was such a good businessman. He treated everyone great. Didn't matter if they had money or what their background was. He treated everyone equal. So, oh, what happened to him? Well, he sold his business, and, now he's doing some other things and whatnot. And I'm like, if he ever gets in the gym business again, man, that's the guy I got to work for, is that I had been around long enough working at all these different health and fitness places. I'd seen that it was very hard to make a living and that most of these people didn't have their life together themselves. So he opens up another gym. I go in and talk to him. Of course, at the time, I'm like 275 pounds. I got a big beard.
Strike one.
Yep.
Strike two.
Yeah. Powerlifting, no direction, though, besides that. And, like, powerlifting had morphed into something that I never intended it to be, is that I got into it because I just went to the gym, and it was kind of that gym culture. Talk about that. Certain gyms have culture, whatnot. And I actually started to be pretty good at it, and I missed to be the lightest teenager to bench 600 pounds. So as I was breaking all these junior world records, I'm like, I'm not going to make the same mistake twice. As I purposely tried to stay down a weight class, and I'm like, I'm just going to get as big as possible. And by the time I had met you, like, we really got to know each other, I was super heavy. I was 285 pounds, 297 at the highest, and just didn't even like the way I looked in the mirror and whatnot. Todd and I actually have the same birthday, and Becca, who owned Big Iron, hers was the 16th, is the day after ours. And when she found out, she's like, oh, Todd Smith has the same birthday. So I had interviewed with him one time, or just dropped off a resume, said it didn't go so well. My appearance wasn't quite up to snuff. But then he comes into Big Iron Gym, and I said, hey, I think we have the same birthday. We met at a gas station before that.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. And then you were kind of coming in at like an obscure time, and I was training people in the morning, then I would take a break. So then we started working out together. And then I was like, pretty much right away, I was like, whoa, I've wasted a lot of time doing things wrong. And it became that then you kind of like, I remember you said to me right away, you're like, all this effort and stuff that you're putting into exercise with really no direction, if you change that and put it towards somewhere else in your life, it'd be a lot more useful. It's like not just all about lifting weights and getting huge. It's like if you're being disciplined that way, but you really have no track in life, is that, training people for $20 an hour, I was making more money than most of my clients. It wasn't a very good position to be in on that part. And then most of them were sold something that they didn't know was a contract and whatnot. It was just a bad system. But so you started kind of talking to me a little bit, and then you're like, eventually like, well, I'll take you under my wing, at least part-time, get you going. And then it was like out of the network of people, because they're like, what? You're number 2 in the world? And you're paying for all this yourself? So what if you're number 1? What does that change? Nothing. You're paying for traveling expenses. You're putting your health at risk. You're putting your body at risk for injuries. And for what? Plastic trophies? And then at the point that it was just kind of like being around that different environment, like a whole different group of people that were successful, doctors, attorneys, business owners. And then I was just like, they're right. And then I fell in love with the concept because I never felt like I was at work. I just got to be around all these amazing people And most of them is like you're teaching them exercise and they learn to appreciate you. And then they'll give you other little advice, and a lot of it made sense. It was great all around. So never felt like a day of work to me.
That's cool. You know what? I'd like you to kind of tell me tell me what it was like being, a 297-pound power lifter, and then, tell me the process of, how you transformed into, a 215-pound super fit guy. Explain what was the preconceived notion you had in your head, and then you brought it to my attention. What did I tell you, and what did you do?
So when I was like wrapping up on powerlifting, I decided I was going to be done, being around this different group. I'm like, there's really not too much juice left to squeeze out of this. It's kind of run its course. And I'm like, I was working a split shift. I was working 5 to 10. Then I'd come back and work 4 to 9. And I told Todd, I'm like, I'm going to come in and start hitting the cardio every morning and, drop the carbs and do this. And he says, well, you tell him what he said.
Well, I just said, that's exactly the wrong thing to do. Because what he was doing, he was following, the standard protocol for losing body fat. Hey, let's exercise more. Get your steps in, cut your calories, and it's a mathematical equation. So burn more, eat less. What happens?
You slow down your metabolism.
Yes.
And make it impossible to keep the weight off.
I've always, not always, but like I alluded to earlier, I've been so observant, so hyper vigilant about, hey, how does this work? I mean, I didn't just come upon this. Something that I've witnessed, something that I've experimented with. And so Richie comes to me and he goes, yeah, man, I'm working out 6 days a week, and I'm going to start going twice a day, and I'm going to take my caloric intake from I think he was probably around 6,000 calories a day of garbage. And he's going to talk about cutting it down to 2,000 and then doing, 60 minutes of fasted cardio and all this. And I was like, wow. First of all, I always believe you want to do the least amount of work necessary to initiate change. And moreover, I don't want to have a metabolic shock, because regardless, he's putting himself down. He still had a tremendous amount of muscle mass, but I didn't want to see him going from, 195 pounds of lean mass down to 150 pounds in order to lose 50 pounds of fat. To me, that's a recipe for disaster, or as I called it once upon a time, the
road back to fat.
The inevitable road back to fat. So what I did for Richie is I said, hey man, let's do a little bit of cardio, only post-workout, and let's take your calories. I'm not even going to talk about calories. I'm just going to we're going to eat these 3 meals and then this shake before bed. And tell how what happened. How fast did it?
Very fast. Is that I think we were doing cardio. You had me walking for maybe 25 minutes twice a week.
Yeah.
And within, 2 months, I think I was down to 260. Then I know within a year point, I was down to 234. And then it was all on, there was no calorie counting or anything. It was just an elimination of.
Yeah, it wasn't addition. Let's add. Let's subtract some things.
Yeah, it was eat real food.
Yeah, I mean, we just took away all the processed stuff. Went kind of a little bit against the grain. I mean, we were doing lots of protein, but not only protein. And we were doing carbs, and we were doing vegetables, and even a little bit of fruit. I've always been an advocate of fiber, and not crazy. Only do this or only do that. That kind of mentality makes my head explode. Because I'm going to deviate now, but I'm going to tell you something. And this is something for everybody to understand. I want you to understand, I'm not the foremost authority, but I know for a fact nobody in the world has worked with as many people for as many hours as I have. And I want to tell you something. All these radical diets, whether it's paleo, plant-based, gosh, they all have something in common. And that is that they work. They do work. When you create a caloric deficit, you are going to lose weight, you know. But I mean, the semaglutides, it's the same thing. They force you to eat less. But the reality is, it's not. How long can you successfully execute this? How long are you going to be able to successfully live on a plant-based diet? You know, it's the secret ingredient to this is being able to execute it, to love the process. And like, as he was saying, well, you know, 6 months later, I'd lost 40 pounds, and a year later, you know, that's really cool, but I hate to quantify. I really do. And like, you know, even in the last year, Richie's really metamorphosized and probably lost another 20 pounds without even thinking about it, just focusing on processes, loving the process, and embracing every step of the day, and like and celebrating victories. Because every day you execute with excellence, fantastic. You won. And what we believe in is building off victories. Hey, I had a great day today. Thank you. And if you screw up tomorrow, guess what? Who cares? Put it behind you. Do better the next day. We're not trying to achieve perfection, but if we're reaching for perfection, we're going to find excellence. And that's what we do. And so tell us a little bit more about like the muscle mass metamorphosis that happened, and why you've consistently got leaner every year over the past decade. So what happened? What was the impact of your muscle mass when you lost 85 pounds?
What's came up is that, and I guess the message on that too is that, and you brought up on the caloric deficit, is that, yeah, I mean, that's what people will like shoot for, but it's like a surefire way to feel miserable is that you generate a ton of fatigue. Where if you're just eating the right foods, you're going to get satiated better, you're going to have more energy, you're going to lose the craving for the junk because your blood sugar is more stable, and it just helped me feel better. Is that not saying that I don't have something then and there off of it, but if I just go right back on the diet, you know, unprocessed carbs, focus on protein, it all works out. And then to be able to train hard, if you're at a deficit, I mean, it does feel terrible.
You know,
that you see people that do it, and it's just misery.
Let me interrupt for a second. Then I want you to go back and tell me more about the muscle mass and the training and the strength and the energy and your vitality. But let me tell you this. Here, like amongst all the mistakes, the biggest one is portion controlling. Yeah, Todd, I eat perfect. I eat too much. No, you're not. That's not true. I have never now I'm way over $100,000, by the way, but in 41 years of loving every day and working with people, I have never seen anybody not improve their health when they ate as much, chicken, salmon, egg whites, steak, all these things, sweet potatoes, vegetables. I think it's such a misconception, and it's been such an unhealthy philosophy that has been propagated generation over generation. Is like, hey, don't eat too much. You want to have a psychological breakdown? Get up from the table and be hungry. That leads to grazing. Hey, I only had 3 meals, but you had a whole box of goldfish, and handfuls of raisins and grapes, and it's a mind blower. And this is such a passion of mine to we start every, hey, what'd you have for breakfast? I mean, it's shocking. People still equate with the hungrier I am, the more I can suffer, the more successful I'm going to be in changing the composition of my body. And it makes my head explode. There is nothing further from the truth. You're going to slow everything down. On my last podcast, I went crazy over this, especially when it comes to women. You know, you see these women that are 50 years old, and I mean, the 50-year-old woman who I have always focused on for 40 years, because I felt like 40 years ago, who's helping this woman? Who's helping that particular person? Nobody. All the research, everything's done on men. Men and women are completely different. Women aren't smaller versions of men, and so they have to eat different, they have to train different. And fasting for a woman that's 50 years old is metabolic suicide. It just doesn't work. We lose muscle mass. So, as I finish with that, tell me, as you were losing that weight and you were moderately training as far as your volume, what happened to your muscle mass? What happened to your energy?
A lot. I mean, it was cutting back on the neurotic training. And that's like with the cardio, or like, oh, I'm going to do more reps to get cut and whatnot. It was like you kept telling me to do less. Is that just 20 sets of body part or whatever that is? Like, no, let's do less and like really nail in on the execution of everything. And then I was like, well, you said 4 sets of chest, and there's no way I could possibly do a 5th set in that same capacity, you know? So it actually went way down. It was counterintuitive to what everyone thought.
It truly is. And so when he's talking about like that lower volume, we're not talking about, and by the way, I was one of my mentors was the inventor of low volume training, Arthur Jones. I really, that's a great example of like I was exposed to this really radical form and system of training that was all about super low volume, super high intensity. But, you know, after doing it, I mean, I'm like, who else can do this? It goes back to like the nutrition part is like, does, you know, eating only ribeye steaks, you know, will you get leaner doing that? Absolutely. How many people are going to succeed doing that? Mm-hmm. You know, how many people are going to succeed training to maximum intensity and to failure and past failure? I mean, like, first of all, you're going to get injured. You're going to get burned out. So when he says lower volume, we're not talking about like that Arthur Jones, you know, Dorian Yates style, which is cool for some. I mean, that's how you can become really massively bulky and muscular. But I'm looking at how can I make you successful? I mean, our systems were never built for the 1%. Although I know we can help the 1%. Our systems are built for everybody else. And that everybody else includes Richie, and it includes me, because we know that focusing on the whole body, instead of thinking about, you know, from the neck down, I want to have a great body. Let's train with weights to build muscles. Let's eat to be incredibly healthy. Let's do cardiovascular exercise to strengthen the heart, not to maintain body fat composition, not to burn fat. Let's do it to strengthen the heart. And the whole while we're doing this, yeah, we're impacting the body. But the most profound change will happen emotionally, because you're going to cleanse your brain. You're going to create an environment internally that is so conducive for, gratitude, joy, just being in the right frame of mind. Cluttering your brain with like, no, hey, I got my 1,000 steps in, and it's only 8 o'clock. Yeah, no, and that whole mentality, it's so depressing and anxiety provoking. So I want to go back and talk about the checking of boxes now, because that's the next thing is when we say, well, I did 4 sets. And like when you say that, okay, well, I did 4 sets of biceps. Okay. I did 4 sets of triceps. Great. So now, Richie, tell me what, like, we talk about the magic. Mm-hmm. Tell me the magic of the 4 sets or the 6 sets, and like, let's not even quantify, but talk about the magic of the rep.
Well, that becomes is that like, now these days, and this is like different generations, but like everyone is online coaching and programs and whatnot. And even with AI coming up, is that like, it doesn't really make a difference if you don't know how to actually execute the reps, and like that was one of the things too, is like when I was done powerlifting, there were certain parts of them that were so tight. Like for example, on a bicep curl, I couldn't externally rotate to bring like my pinky outside here, is that I was so locked down that way. As I remember like bringing my elbows forward and like the dumbbells would just come in. So it was like just hammer curls. Like I had no external rotation, and it just went on that. So it's like, I always put it like my shoulders were so tight, they would just take the load of the bicep curl, because I didn't know how to mechanically get my arm into position and didn't have the flexibility. It was just so locked down in the shoulders, probably internally rotated, like scapula blowing out, everything sitting forward. So like opening it up, actually like being mindful, learning how to contract your back. So then that helped pull that back. And so I could externally rotate the arm, and then to actually like be able to control like every part of an exercise, whether it be a bicep curl or whatnot. Like we were talking earlier, was you got a new member and he played in the NFL for 10 years, is that he's very athletic by definition, is that he can compensate through exercises very well. And he's aware of it because he knows, because he was been trying to work out since he got out of the league, but he continues to get injured because he's knows that he can just move through stuff. But now he just finally has came to the reality that he can't move through it, because that's where he kept getting hurt. So he's been very receptive to what we've been saying as far as actually controlling.
And now how does he feel?
Way better.
It's like shocking. Let me interject, and I'm going to kind of tell you something. Like, to go back, like what's the secret sauce? Is that like, if you go online and you say, hey, hey Siri, give me a back workout, and it's going to tell you, do 3 sets of pull-ups with a parallel grip, and do 3 sets of rows, and then do 3 sets of pullovers. Cool. So, I mean, forever somebody calls me up, hey, Todd, send me a workout. Text me what the right workout to do. And I'm like, man, it's hard to do that because I'm cheating you. Because that's what it is. It's a cheat. What I've figured out is, first of all, like, it's what we do is way, way, way more art than science. It is, because you can't articulate this in a scientific study or a journal or a kinesiology paper. You just can't. But I think science is catching up to us a little bit, and some people are getting it. But like, it's not just the mechanics of the movement. I am fixated on training each one of my trainers and all my organizations on how to do these things exactly right. That's the only thing I care about. I'm not worried about sales and marketing and, hey, how many deals we get today, Richie? How many we get? Mm-hmm. Have you ever heard me say that? No, because I don't care. Because if we can provide excellence and deliver the product and the art of the session the way that I want it to, nothing else matters. But I want to go back to this piece. Most of our trainers are passionate. They're all passionate about exercise. I don't bring anybody on unless they're passionate about their own health and their own workouts. But especially in school, they're checking a box. Okay, I did my 3rd set of RDLs, and I did 15 reps per set. Cool. Now, let's take a look at the whole process. Let's first and foremost, let's analyze the biomechanics throughout the entire movement. There's a sign up on the wall at Todd Smith Fitness that says, if you're not exactly right, then you're completely wrong. Okay, well, that's a piece of this. So our trainers are fixated on teaching everybody how to do each rep to perfection. And we keep drilling it and keep drilling it. And by the way, the biomechanics of a lateral raise for the medial deltoid is different on Richie than it is, Gladys, the 78-year-old, mother, grandmother, her biomechanics are different. And we're going to teach all of our trainers how to do that. So we're going to teach Gladys, we're going to teach Richie, we're going to teach everybody the perfect mechanics on that movement. But that's only such a small piece of it. That's, okay, box check. 99.999% of people, they don't get that box check because they're just, okay, I did 10. Now, the magic and the art come as we articulate how you feel this exercise. Where do you feel it? Let's create a neurological pathway to that muscle. So that's the magic that I'm talking about. It's not just, I did this perfect row. It's, wait a minute. When I'm lifting my chest up and I'm pulling my belly button in, my scapula are retracted, and I'm pulling my elbows straight back, wow, I just felt my lats. I felt my low trapezius, my mid trapezius, my rhomboids, everything just exploded. And that's the seminal moment that we're looking for. That's the art of what we do. That's why it's very challenging for me to say, okay, do 4 sets of barbell rows, do 2 sets of parallel grip pull downs, and do 3 sets of dumbbell pullovers. I cheated you. And I think when you are embarking upon your journey to learn about how to maximize my return on my time and money investment when it comes to this, that's something to be very mindful of, because checking a box, okay, I did 10 of these curls, and I started out and I could only do 15 pounds, no, I'm doing 30. That's quantifying by weight. Usually there's some discrepancies in the biomechanics or the form, so you just start moving weight. And that leads to, a breakdown in everything. Because then the goal becomes, hey, I did 10. Really? How many were good? That's why we don't really say, give me 15, do 30. Because you know what you do when you're given that task? You do it. Okay, I did 10. You didn't feel the magic of the rep. And that is at the heart of what we do, is we're searching for that magic to deliver it to each one of our clients and say, wow. I mean, Richie, tell me a story. Pick anybody. You don't need to name a name. Give me a story of somebody that even in the last couple of years you've seen just completely metamorphosize because they've activated muscles that had previously not functioned the way they were supposed to.
Well, the one girl, the ultramarathon runner,
yeah, insane.
The most insane transformation we've ever had.
Yeah.
I've ever had. I've been with Todd for 18 years, but take that person who's wired to go, 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 is that she would run 100 miles, is that push herself insane, and then to see she was following a vegan diet, whatnot, so then all of a sudden just add some fish and eggs in there. And then actually learn how to squeeze muscles and stuff like that. It took a while to show things, but as soon as you got
Let me interrupt. And sorry, but I love some of these guys, some of these big influencers, but they create a relationship between suffering and health. And you'll see them running in the desert, or biking up a mountain, or climbing a rope, or it's very counterintuitive about there are guys like that, and they're incredible, and I admire them, but you also understand that God, he's got both of his shoulders redone, mm-hmm. and he's only 50, mm-hmm. and he had both knees done, and he's only 45. The average person is we call it catabolic catastrophe. When you wear yourself out, running is a beautiful endeavor. But if you're using it as the sole way of maintaining health and fitness, not many people make it to 50. And there are outliers. Some people really do it and get away with it. But like when you get injured, it's such a setback, especially when you're 40, 50, 60, 70. We want to avoid all those things. But keep telling the story about the ultramarathon girl.
So just to back up on that is that we've had several of our clients now where their parents were elderly and that was their modality of exercise is running. So as soon as they can no longer do that, like nothing, they never tried resistance training or anything like that. And of course that most of them stuck with it 10 to 20 years after they should have. And then like he said, suffering all these injuries and thinking like, oh no, I have to do this to be fit.
Suffering.
Yes. It's the cart before the horse is that it doesn't make much sense of it. But the girl was done insane is that like, I don't know what, if she started at, I mean, the muscle mass gain and strength gain, it's incredible. It's shocking. Yeah. And then,
but she was a person that bought in. I mean, she submitted to the processes and like, she's incredible. Like the results that she's made. But you know, that's a girl that's 40. Let me tell you some stories about just some people recently. You know, I had a 67-year-old woman come in and she was so not sold upon this. She joined only because some of her friends were there and she couldn't have been any more skeptical. Yeah, I'll do this. And I always, like, I gravitate towards those people because this girl was super charismatic and fun. And I have so much fun with everybody. I mean, one of the primary reasons I get up and I just can't wait to get to the gym every day is not just because I love helping people. It's because I have so much fun with people. We tell stories. She's just, this woman in particular was just a blast. She would harass me. I would harass her. And, you know, hey, what'd you have for breakfast? I didn't eat breakfast. Okay. And I would harass her about that. But she, over the course, and by the way, she's been trying to lose the same 20 pounds for the last 27 years. 27 years she's been 20 pounds overweight. Okay. I'm not going to talk to you about losing that 27 pounds. Not. But I'm going to talk to you about just processes. Come to the gym 2 hours a week. Execute these exercises with magnificence. Change your diet a little bit, please. And week 2, she shows up and she stuck with it because we had so much fun. We were laughing the whole time. And now, you know, 6 months later, she's lost 25 pounds. But here's the amazing thing. And this defies logic. She gained 10 pounds of muscle. I mean, she looks like a different person. She's completely transformed. Not just her posture, not just her body composition, but she feels incredible. She comes in walking on air. She's more fun than ever, more charismatic than ever. She harasses me more than ever. We have more fun than ever. I mean, that's just one person. And that was somebody that came in without a tremendous amount of buy-in. But many people, they're on the cusp. Hey, should I do that semi-glutide shot? Maybe. I mean, sometimes it's that first turn of the boulder when you're trying to push it up a hill. But most of the time, that's a crutch. So I'm not knocking it. But I'm saying we have a lot of people that are in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and they fall in love with this process. And it's shocking because they gain 5, 7, 10, 12 pounds of muscle mass after the age of 60, after the age of 70. And what's that do to their body? What's that do?
Well, she looks like she's 20 years younger.
I know, it's incredible. But there's how many of these stories we have? We have hundreds of stories like this, and it's that falling in love with it, and then if we can get you to the point to give me a little bit of buy-in, you're going to start to feel the difference. You're going to, hey, I slept better last night. Cool. Hey, I ate breakfast today. Fabulous. That's a win. Let's build on it. It's just magic, man. And that's why finding somebody like Richie, it's so pivotal, because he loves people. He loves making them change. Tell us a little bit about, like, creating just some wins for people, like the breakfast aspect.
Yeah.
Talk about that, not just for women, but for everybody. How, I mean, we talk about this all the time.
I mean, it's everything is that on that part. And like, I even think about this at people I know that don't exercise, and generally the ones that look a little bit better, like my brother-in-law, you know, he played football, but he doesn't really take care of himself. But guess what? He eats breakfast. Like, you know, he has it, you know, he doesn't have a terrible diet by any means, but just the fact if he didn't eat breakfast, you know,
It slows you down immediately.
well, the fact is you're generating more cortisol and more stress. They're more likely you are to overeat at night. That's going to affect your sleep. And now you've got 3 or 4 cascading events going in the wrong direction for you. I'd like to add, though, too, is about like the woman you spoke about. I love that because of her age, is like that's the demographic that was sold classes, jazzercise,
Yeah.
keep moving, whatever that. And then you take them and it takes some buy-in, and like you're doing 3 or 4 exercises. So they're not generating as much overall systemic fatigue, but they're 100% activating their muscles. And then that allows them to sleep better as long as they eat, you know, and put all the steps together as far as that goes. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, everything happened. You gained some muscle, you lost the fat, you feel better, you're sleeping better, you know, you're now taking care of yourself.
You think about my age, 60 years old, 10 years before, 10 years after. We were fed this line, especially girls, man, is that like skinny was in. The less you eat, the more you exercise, and it's like it's vicious. And it's led to, you know, lots of neurotic behavior, lots of unhappiness. And to be honest with you, it's like it's so hard to maintain that. Like, I went back to the portion controlling thing. It's like it's so difficult. It's so hard to sustain. And I want to tell you that that's one of my primary things is, gosh, can we get everybody to eat breakfast? It sounds so simple, but it's a game changer. And let me stop. I've been meaning to say this. I want to tell everybody, like, 2 of the most pivotal people that I found in my life. I've never met either one of them personally because they came before my time, but it was John Wooden and it was Vince Lombardi. And these guys were so hyper fixated on execution. Execution. You know, John Wooden was famous. Everybody in the 60s and 70s, everybody wanted to play there. He got all the best players. Almost every great player went there. And he would spend, you know, the first practice, everybody was excited about getting on the court. He'd spend the first practice teaching people how to put their socks on and tie their shoes. Mm-hmm. You know, he wasn't like an innovator, but he was hyper focused on execution. Vince Lombardi, I saw this incredible video. It was John Madden. I don't know if you guys, most people know John Madden as the video game guy, but he was also a Hall of Fame football coach. And after he had seen a lot of success, he saw this seminar. Hey, Vince Lombardi is gonna break down the sweep. The sweep, where you the quarterback hands the ball off to the running back and he goes around end. John Madden's like, sure, I'll go see you. You know, God, I've been coaching for 30 years now, and I'm going to go just to pay respect and homage to Vince Lombardi, the greatest guy. That's who the Super Bowl trophy's named after. And Vince Lombardi proceeds to spend the next 20 hours over 2 days breaking down every specific step that each player has to make in order to make the perfect, the perfect sweep, the perfect play. And it was like, wow. Everybody is looking to innovate. let's innovate. Let's make it more difficult. Because you know what? Innovation's sexy. And I'm not against innovation. I'm not that guy that's going to like, oh, I hate innovation. I don't want anything new. That's not me. But I want you to know from like all my observations, especially in this field, people are so excited about innovating. Hey, I did something new. Mm-hmm. You know, hey, I did those box jumps on one leg, and now I'm going to decelerate. I'm going to stand up on a box and jump off of it. Hey, deceleration training is magnificent. Is it for the 52-year-old lawyer who works 12 hours a day, doesn't eat right, doesn't sleep right? Maybe not. Mm-hmm. You know, and I think that I would like you, Richie, to comment about the constant unwiring of our customers because, you know, they saw this on Instagram, you know. So talk about the innovation, the fixation of innovation. And by the way, the last thing I want to say is like these concepts that John Wooden and Vince Lombardi came with, they're still the absolute foundation and the bedrock in the way that we operate our organization.
Yeah. With the run the sweep and everyone's exactly doing their job, it's pretty much bulletproof, yes. Right? No, it's I had the conversation with my wife and other clients. I said, like, we really have the best job is that we're just reminding people not to do extreme things and just to follow the process on it. And usually when they get ahead of themselves or think about, oh, I'm going to innovate or take something new that I read in there, then I'm like, you're only sabotaging the future. You're creating more fatigue. It's not going to make a hill of beans difference. You're going to be less likely to stick to it. So it's like, let's just go back to what works. And like said at 60 is that you don't really see anyone that's like maintain great health, muscle mass, and all that stuff who doesn't do the basics. They're not hitting their protein goals. They're not eating a high amount of processed foods or whatnot. I mean, so, and then also on that point too is like, you know, the last couple of years, fasting was a huge thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And more confusing for people than ever is that you hear doctors talk about it now and stuff like that. And like, oh yeah, people are down 30 pounds, 40 of it was muscle.
Yeah, it's the sustainability. Mm-hmm. That's the thing. I mean, okay, so we don't need to name a name, but how about some people that we know from our gym that said, hey, I love the training, but I'm going to do the fasting. Mm-hmm. How does that work out?
Mm-hmm. Then it can stick to it.
It's incredible. You are going to see a massive change on the scale, but is it sustainable? That's kind of the deal, is that like we're not trying to like be a quick fix, and we're begging you not to run after that shiny thing out there. Oh, I can get in shape in 8 weeks. Mm-hmm. Yeah. If you follow the systems and the protocol, you can make some great changes, but I don't like to quantify. I don't like to say, hey, God, I'm going to get you down 40 pounds in the next 10 weeks. You know, could you? Sure you could. But if you're running after that, you know, the person that weighs themselves every day, gosh, it's hard. It's hard because you're just setting yourself up to fail. And go back to what I said earlier. Let's win. Let's celebrate wins. Let's feel good about the process. If you can put 3 days together of wins, hey, man, I set an alarm and I went to bed at 10 o'clock and I shut my phone off at 9:30. And then I got up at 6 and I ate breakfast. I exercised. I pumped some iron. I mean, man, you do that 3 days in a row, you're going to feel better. Mm-hmm. You know? I mean, it's now put together 6 days. And then on Saturday night, hey, I went out with my wife and I had a glass of wine. Big deal.
I always tell people, I'm like, that's kind of been my key to success, like what you told me, but I got addicted to feeling good.
It is.
Is that like not to chase things, is that like, oh man, that upset my stomach when I ate that, or then I didn't sleep and now I'm exhausted and whatnot. And when you see clients that actually catch on that breakthrough of it, you really see them start to thrive. Everything goes and it's like different. It's like, oh, what, I'm not hungry all the time. I'm not fatigued. You know, if you're hungry, you're going to be fatigued. You're not going to have energy. You know, you're going to be miserable.
And what does under eating lead to?
Overeating.
And hunger.
Yeah.
Hunger. And you eat.
And like
eat the food.
The one thing we haven't touched on, like what's your big thing, what you do different than everyone else, it doesn't matter if that person is like, we're always sending the same message, but if they're not buying in, we still want to uplift them emotionally.
Gosh, yes. Yeah, this is the last piece of the day. We got to finish with this because this is such a cool deal. We noticed in the last, a year, I cannot tell you how many of our clients, you know, they would start it at 60 and now they're 70 or whatever, and they didn't buy in. But we kept them because we had so much fun with them. We kept them because, you know, they did feel better. Their posture was better. You know, they love the community that we created. Everybody's having fun and joking, and we're playing music and telling stories and laughing. And then, by osmosis, 7 years later, Bill started eating better. Bill started eating better. Isn't that incredible? That like, now, what's fascinating is you take a 50-year-old and let's say he's doing 180 minutes a week of weightlifting, and he's doing, let's say, he does 60 minutes of incline walking at a moderate pace. But he's not eating well, he's not sleeping well, he's drinking more than he should. That effect of exercise is still profound. Because you'll see this guy walk in after 10 years. Look at what you did for me after 10 years. Look at this beautiful body. But what's funny is you say, hey, Bill, you look the same that you did like 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. So you weren't able to maintain it. But what's such a cool thing is that I bet you we got a dozen people in the last year or so that have been with us for 7, 10 years, and now they maintain their health. We improved them dramatically metabolically. But now all of a sudden, hey man, I cut way back on my alcohol. I'm eating breakfast and I feel fantastic. I mean, it's incredible. Yeah. I think it's really cool. We had a meeting about that. We're like, gosh, don't give up on anybody. Love them, treat them with respect, and just keep constantly coaching. Motivation, direction, accountability, but have fun doing it. You know, so do you want to add anything else?
Well, I think that's the whole group dynamic, is that all it takes is a new person to come in that actually does, you know, just personality type. People are different. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden someone's like, wow, I seen that girl when she first came in, and now look at her.
It's incredible. But yeah, I mean, a big piece of our success is the community that we've created. And I cannot emphasize how blessed we are. You know, and we're committed to everybody. I mean, we really are. I mean, we work on it every single day to make sure, not just the mechanics, but on the emotional side, to make sure that we only bring people on board of our organization that love people, not judgmental. I don't care what you've done in the past. I'm here to help you. I'm here to make you feel better, emotionally first, physiologically later, metabolically later, but I'm here to help you. And that's just part of what we do. And the byproduct has been that we have this incredible community of wonderful people that are so welcoming and so unbelievably, you know, just grateful and joyous. It's just incredible. And I mean, for that, like if somebody calls up, hey, I want to join your gym. Okay, but I got to interview you first. I don't want anybody. I mean, like that. That's why we're not, you know, out there fishing for leads. We got to get the right people that are going to be good fits for our community. And I feel like now more than any other time in 41 years, we have the best staff, we have the best clients. It's just a magical place, and I'm so blessed. And I want to shout out to, you know, all of our customers and say thank you from the bottom of my heart. I'm so blessed to because you fill me up. I'm a really weird guy, and I get so much energy off of helping people and being around people. It doesn't drain me. Some people are like, oh, I'm so exhausted. I can't even do it anymore. I can only do 3 hours in a row. And I'm like, I at the end of the day, sometimes I got to my wife's like, God, what's wrong with you? Well, there's probably a lot, but
Man.
I get like hyper. I get so excited when I'm with people. They give me energy. So thank you.
I couldn't say it any better myself, is that I'm so proud of what we have going in the community aspect, and I love it. It's great. Like I said, it hasn't changed since day one. It's never really felt like work, and said it's the clientele for. We have kind of that first consultation, like you said, it's almost a de-brainwashing.
Yeah.
We've got to make sure that they're a right fit, and because if they throw out well, how about if I do 10 minutes of step mill between my sets, and things like that, is that we're that's not the environment we're trying to create, and try to educate them to get it on the right way. But
So Todd Smith here with Richie Briggs. 100,000 hours I put in, but guess what? I got even more in, and I loved every second of it. Over and out. We'll see you next time.